Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Nuzla Abdul Halim, bringing forward the Indian laws on domestic violence. Please ensure to subscribe, like, comment and share this video for more. As most of us know that India is also known for its most rampant cases of GBV. Now today I'd like us to break down on the Indian laws and then talk of some of the unattended cases in that particular country. So the Indian laws on GBV are actually helped or addressed in a number of ways. They are categorized in a number of ways, some which are kind of similar to those of the Kenyan laws, and some which are new and not introduced in the Kenyan constitution. So the Indian laws are, we have the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act. We've got the criminal law, which was amended after the Delhi gang rape case. Then we've got the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act. We've got the Dowry Prohibition Act. We've got the Protection of Children from Sexual Offense Act by the name POCSO. And then we've got the Human Trafficking and Sexual Exploitation Act. As we explore into these Indian laws, we will also be looking into some of the penalties and situations where these crimes are punishable and what charges are to be received to the abusers, or in case of the workplace act, to the employer or to the individuals. So starting with the Protection of Women Act from Domestic Violence, basically in this act they're just trying to protect the women against the abusers. Abusers could be the family, could be their partners, could be their husbands. Okay, so and by partner, I could be meaning either the spouse, the female spouse, or the male spouse. So this one is similar to that of Kenyan law, where the victim requests for a protection order in court, and once attained and once the order is violated, there are two penalties for it. So one, it's either the abuser is going to face a 1 year of imprisonment or a fine of 20,000 rupees, or the abuser might face both of these charges. And by these orders, we would mean the court might mean that the abuser must stay away from the victim, stop contacting them, or stop going anywhere near the victim, right? So moving into the Criminal Law Act, the Criminal Law Act existed before, but then it was amended after the New Delhi gang rape case. There was a gang rape case where a lady was gang raped. So anyways, from this law, it has strengthened on sexual violence, and it has been criminalizing stalking, rape, voyeurism, acid attacks, sexual harassment. The cases of throwing acid on people's faces has become very common in India, or in New Delhi particularly. So just to put a halt to this, there are several charges for these actions. We've got a charge for the rape, for the aggravated rape, for the rape that causes death, or leaving the victim in a vegetative state. So with normal rape, these are categorized into this way, which is something, I think it's a good thing, but let me not talk what is in my head. But for the rape case, the minimum years for imprisonment is just 10, and it might extend to life imprisonment. For the aggravated rape, which is normally perpetrated by the police, the public figures, or gang rape, is 20 years of imprisonment. And for the rape that causes death or leaves a victim into vegetative state, is a direct life imprisonment or death penalty. Moving forward to the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act, well, this act is a very good one, because despite having women in the workplace, at some point, some of the reasons why we women are diminished is the fact that, as patriarchy says, okay, women are supposed to remain at homes. I mean, taking care of the house, taking care of the children, taking care of the parents. So we are normally belittled from this side of patriarchy. So when women now started rising, working and all, they now started also facing harassment in their workplaces. So this act was purposely created for the safety of these women in their workplaces. So aside wanting the protection of women in the workplaces, this act also forces the organizations or the companies to create internal complaints committees so as to handle complaints. Failure to do so, the company will of course face the charges. So it always occurs in two scenarios. You have a scenario when an individual violates this act or an employer violates it. So in the case of the individual, the charges are not very complex or not really bad, because might either be issued with a disciplinary action by their employer, or have a suspension, or have a deduction of salary so as to compensate to the victim of that particular crime. So in the case of the employer, now this is where it gets deadlier. They either face a fine up to 50,000 rupees, or even more if there is repeated offenses, or might end up having a cancellation of their business license. Now, moving into the Dowry Prohibition Act, I mean, okay, so before I break it down, talking about the penalties and the charges, I'd like us to understand one thing. Dowry is not only a culture thing, it's also a religious thing. So for the Indians, unlike us Muslims, okay, let me talk about Muslims because that's where I come from. Unlike us, we give dowry to the women, but for the Indians, the women give dowry to the men. So it's a cultural thing and a religious thing. But now, after it being seen as a way where now men find the incentives to harass the women, dowry has now been prohibited in India. So for anyone who tries to demand or give or take dowry, they have specific charges for that. So this Dowry Prohibition Act makes giving or taking dowry illegal. It punishes harassment or violence linked to dowry demands. Then this dowry related abuse prosecuted under Indian Penal Code section 498A, which now currently criminalizes cruelty against married women. So now, as we categorize them into two, because we have the section where taking and giving it is illegal, and then we've got the section where demanding it is also illegal. So for the taking and giving, the minimum years is 5 years of imprisonment, or you might face a fine of 15,000 rupee. It's either you face that or face the fine of the value of the dowry. And fun fact is, between these two, either 15,000 rupee or the value of the dowry, whichever is going to be higher, that higher price is the one that is going to be given out as a fine. Moving to the demanding side, so once a man demands for dowry, then he is to face a 6 month to 2 years of imprisonment, or face up a fine of up to 10,000 rupees. Moving to the Protection of Children from Sexual Offense Act, POCSO, children protection, all we know is that we're just protecting the welfare, the safety of children under the ages of 18. So mostly they're protected from sexual abuses or sexual assault or sexual harassment. So from their case, now they're also categorized into 3, where now they're protected from sexual assault, or the aggravated penetrative sexual assault, or rape. So any abuser that perpetrates sexual assault is to face a 3 to 5 years of imprisonment. For the aggravated penetrative sexual assault, an abuser is required to face 10 years of imprisonment, while that of rape any perpetrator of rape is to face life imprisonment, that which is similar to that of the Kenyan law. And now, lastly, talking of the human trafficking and sexual exploitation, India is known for human trafficking. If you look into their series, I don't know about real life, but if you look into their series, into their movies, you will barely find a movie that lacks human trafficking or sexual exploitation. So this act targets human trafficking and forced prostitution. So it criminalizes running up brothels, procuring women for prostitution, or trafficking women or girls for sexual exploitation. So for a person who runs up a brothel, and when they are found out, they are to face the penalty of 1 to 3 years of imprisonment. For those that are trafficking women or girls for prostitution, that is for them to face the charge of 3 to 7 years in prison. While if these offenses are kind of repeated by the same person, that particular person is to face the charge of life imprisonment. Everyone, the reason why I am breaking down these laws, starting with Kenyan laws, going to Indian laws, and then I'll go to other countries, maybe Sierra Leone, maybe South Africa, maybe other AU countries, maybe European countries. By there I have seen that the EU has launched a very good program that will be able to put an emphasis on gender equality, combating gender-based violence and all. It's a good initiative. We'll talk about it. So the reason why I'm doing this is for us to understand these things better, and also for us to know if victims are actually justified. I mean, if they actually receive their justice in the correct way. Because as we saw last time, one of the unattended cases in Kenya, the victim didn't receive the appropriate justice according to the Constitution of Kenya. And it was the case where the man was sentenced to 25 years in prison, and then later changed to 15 years after the appeal. You see, and from his case as an abuser, he was supposed to face the charge of, he was supposed to be sentenced to life imprisonment, right? So these laws will enable us to know what the appropriate measures are supposed to be taken. I will be tackling on the unattended cases in India on my next video, so I am hoping that you're going to support me and you're going to follow up on this. Please everyone, make sure to support me, make sure to subscribe to my channel, make sure to like it, make sure to share and comment on the section for more of the related videos. My unattended cases of Indian GBV will be done